And this presentation is founded on 3 principles. And the first one I think we can all recognize and understand, and that is the quality of any decision that we make as individuals about pretty much anything is based on the quality and the timeliness of the information that we have prior to us actually making that decision. The second principle is that everything I'm going to be talking about is about extending the functionality of your existing investment in your accounting software. This is effectively adding on capability, functionality to undertake the activity that I'll be talking about. And the third point is that every organization needs to evolve. I think it's fair to say that we are looking down the barrels of what is possibly going to be some quite difficult times in the future. So every organization needs to make the most of their resources, whether that be the money that is available to them or indeed the people. I actually want to start this presentation by going back in time, and I want to highlight 3 innovations that have taken place over the last 40 odd years that really have built the industry that we actually are enjoying today. I actually want to go back one step before that because it's relevant, but it is rather personal. My very first job was as a bought ledger clerk working for a company called Industrial Acoustics in Staines, and I was going to night school in Slough to become a qualified accountant. My job was to collect the orders from the budget holders, to go over to the factory and collect the receipts and delivery notes, match the 2 together, wait for the invoice to turn up, connect the delivery note to the order, like they always did, and all the documentation was there, take it to the approvers would then eventually sign it, they'd give it back to me, and then actually write it on a form, so I could take it down to the local computer bureau to have them run it. Unfortunately, relatively quickly, I decided I was sort of living Groundhog Day. It was the same thing day after day. And unfortunately, I decided I'd had enough and I quit and I got involved in sales. My world changed when I joined British Olivetti. And in 1980, they launched a machine called the BCS 2030 Q6. And I just loved this machine. It was the very first time that we were able to offer automation of accounts to smaller organizations. And what you could do is you could raise an invoice on it, on screen, you could print it out, you could actually send out automatic statements, which was novel, you could also put your purchasing through it. But what actually made it such a huge success was the fact you could also run age debtor analysis and age creditor analysis, because at that moment in time, if you had 400 customers or 400 suppliers, you had 400 ledger cards. And that meant to find out what you were owed, you had to go to each ledger card and see what the hell was happening and what was going on. So what this enabled them to do is print it out in debtor order. And to give you some idea how popular it was, I sold about 30 of these. So I want to roll time on now to 1995. So if you think about things that changed, advent of the PC, so basically the price of computing came down, accounting software became available to everybody, and then we added Unix. Unix enabled us to basically go multi-user. That means we could sell to bigger customers, but it also meant we could write more sophisticated software. And as the Unix systems got more and more powerful, so our software got more and more sophisticated, and by 1995, we were running really extremely powerful applications and implementing in very large organizations. I had the opportunity in 1995 to invest in a small North American software house based in Fargo, North Dakota. And they pretty much bankrupted themselves but survived in delivering the next generation of accounting software. And I had the responsibility for opening up their UK office and then running their operation outside North America. It was run by an extraordinary guy, CEO called Doug Berger. And it was it was Great Plains Dynamics. 5 months later, Microsoft launched Windows 95. And this changed everything, because it moved us from selling, if you like, working sequentially, concurrently. We had to do one thing after another. You finished one job, you closed it down, you started the next job. What Windows did is allowed us to actually do things sequentially. So, No, I'm getting these around wrong way. Concurrently, multi-user. Sorry about that. So if you were an AP clerk and you're sitting there and you're posting an invoice batch, and the phone rang at a particular supplier that had a query, instead of having to write it down, come back to it later on, you could simply open up a window, go and look at the information, answer the question, and go back to what you were doing. And Great Plains Dynamics enabled us to do that. It also had basically 3 ledgers only. We did debtors, creditors, and general ledgers. So it wasn't particularly powerful in terms of the range of applications of the competitors out there. But the catalyst that drove the most explosive growth that I've seen in my career was the fact it did one thing extremely well. We could export the data directly from our accounting system straight into spreadsheets. And all of our competitors at that time, the way that they worked was you had to basically print it out and then rekey it back in again. And the growth of Great Plains went from 350 odd people in 1995 and to 5,500 in 2001 when Microsoft bought it for 1.1 billion. And my point here is that catalysts of change that actually reinvent the way that the accountancy systems operate in organizations don't have to be huge, they just have to be meaningful. So let's roll the clock forward again. And really taking us from 1995 through to 2007, see the 2 big ones was, well, the advent of email, which is a blessing and a curse, I think, from all our perspectives, and of course the internet. And the internet really has been one of the most transitional pieces of technology ever. But what really changed everything was the invention of the smartphone. But more relevant today in terms of this presentation, what it's really changed is the way that we individually work around our own money and the way we buy stuff. I mean, is there anybody here that's never bought anything online? Okay, so what we do is we decide, we look at our bank account, decide how much money we've got, and if we've got enough money, we think, yeah, I think I'll go and buy something. We go and do the diligent research, we find out what it is that we want to buy, and then we go and buy it online and we have it delivered to us. So I would argue that really all of us have become very competent and capable at online procurement. It's a skill set. It exists with each of us. It exists right across our organization, and it has a real relevance to the rest of this presentation. So here we are, 2017. Well, that's Bill Gates at 62. I'm not doing too bad, actually. So let's look at where we stand. 1976, the job I did as a Bought Ledger clerk. How many of you are doing something incredibly similar in terms of the way you run your accounts within your organization today? And the answer from our experience going out there is an awful lot of you. So I now want to introduce you the concept of thinking about the budget holder, the person that spends the money, the person that basically is making the decision about what they buy, when they can buy, should they buy it, and where they stand. And what is the information that financial management, financial accounting systems provide those people today? And the answer, unfortunately, is not a great deal. And if we look at the process that we have at this moment in time, is that the invoices come in, they are processed in accounts, and they're pushed out and put on the desk of the approver. The approver then signs them, and they disappear back behind the firewall. The budget holders, the people spending money, have no information relating to that. However, we then go and produce the management accounts, some 5 to 15 days after the month end, which are very comprehensive, very diligently put together, and obviously very important, because that is effectively how we're running the business. And we provide those to the budget holders. And I think if we were a little cynical, some budget holders are better at reading them than others. But that is all the information they have in terms of deciding what they're going to do. So unsurprisingly, most of them maintain spreadsheets. And the reason they maintain spreadsheets is because they need more information. So let's go back to one of the premises of this presentation. The quality of the decisions we make, and in this case financial decisions, is based on the quality of the information that we have, and yet when we look at the tools that we are using within the accountancy software department, it is incapable of providing real-time information from the budget holder's perspective in terms of pretty much everything they're doing. It doesn't have anything about their suppliers, how much they're spending with their suppliers. They haven't got the purchase history. I bought something 6 months ago and I want to know what I paid for it. Well, go and look in the filing cabinet. Oh, I don't think I can be bothered. So they have no access to effectively the status of their invoices or budget information. I'm running projects and I'm running my corporate budget, but I have no information apart from something that was already 2 weeks out of date when I got it. Most people out there, in terms of budget holders, are working in the dark, and they're maintaining the spreadsheets in trying to help them out. So I want to introduce you to a new concept. It's called budget holder management. And it's about giving real-time information that enables your budget holders to become more proficient, more productive, and more accountable for the way they spend the corporate money. Because we're delivering the information that enables them to do that. Now, budget holder management is not a one-stop shop. You press the button, you've got it, and there you go. In most organizations, it's going to be done over a number of steps. And I want to take you through those steps in terms of how easy and simple this can be. The catalyst for change. Believe it or not, it is the humble but totally ubiquitous PDF. And combined with the desire of all of us to get paid on time. So, let's think about the way we send out invoices at the moment, or a lot of us do. So you print out the invoice, we fold it up, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it between 62 and 68p, we give it to the post office, and they deliver it some 1 to 5 days later for now our customer to start processing in the hope it gets paid. That's option A. Option B. Option B says is instead we turn on the functionality of every single accounting system in here that's standard and free, and instead it generates a PDF. The PDF is emailed directly to your customer. It arrives in 1 to 3 seconds. Okay? It arrives 100% of the time. And it is totally free. It also happens to be green. Now, if I had spoke to you about 3 years ago and asked you how many invoices you received as a PDF, you would have told me probably around about 20%. Today, if you're doing a King Canute, you're saying to your suppliers, do not send me PDF invoices, then actually you're probably at 30%, but you're still holding back the tide. If you're on the other end of the stream and you're saying, send me all your invoices as PDFs, then you're up in the 90, 95% and even close to 100% of your invoices arriving as PDFs. Now, the beauty of a PDF is an electronic document. And as an electronic document, it means that we can capture it, we can harvest all the data, we can create that invoice with regards to supplier, invoice number, invoice date, purchase order number, we can create a transaction and we can drop it directly into an invoice approval process. But what I do want to share with you is looking at it from the budget holder's perspective. So let's do this roughly in real time. Supplier raises their sales invoice and sends it. 1 to 5 seconds later, it arrives at the portal. 1 to 2 minutes later, it's been digitized. And it's been downloaded into the invoice approval system. Now, it just so happens that this invoice is for Frank, our IT director, because this particular supplier always goes to Frank and it always goes to this general ledger code. So that information is now appended to that transaction. And it's sent out to Frank. Accounts payable hasn't touched it yet. Frank gets a little ding on his mobile device. I haven't got any hands to hold a mobile device to demonstrate this. It's considered a mobile device. He looks at it, thinks, yeah, that's okay. I'm happy with that. Presses the button, and that transaction is now posted in your accounts. It takes seconds. And every bit of that information is available. But that is very nice from Frank. And Frank obviously is very pleased with the new way of working. But that's what Frank thinks is important. Because what we've also given Frank is 100% of the information relating to his suppliers. He can see every transaction for every supplier from the moment it hit the business, exactly where it is in its life cycle, right the way through to whether or not it's been paid. Now, if you're Frank and that's an important supplier of yours, that is useful information. What we can also show Frank is where he is on his budget, based on every single invoice he's received up to that moment in time, as opposed to waiting until the month end or 2 weeks after to get a report. It is transformational. And the benefits from the point of first step on budget holder management, I think you would agree it's very compelling. So, here we have the ERP system sitting behind its firewall. The invoice comes in, goes through a fully automated process, and in doing so, delivers real-time information to Frank. Good news, as you would expect from the experience at Great Plains in terms of the ability to export the information to a spreadsheet, Frank can now take that information with regards to exactly where he stands and update his spreadsheets which he's maintaining his budget. So, that's step one. How simple is that? Let's go back one actually. In terms of, if you like, a smaller version of that, let's just take a small example. You take all your invoices that come, the PDFs, and you just email that to a portal, okay, to send them or forward them on. You take all your paper ones and you scan them, and you send them to the same portal. Those invoices are then downloaded to the invoice register. That invoice register allows you to drop it into an automated workflow process that we've already discussed, which can be approved on any mobile device with a dedicated mobile app. How much does that cost? Nothing. Free of charge. It's downloadable off our website. Okay, why? Because it's so simple. Because it can be deployed so easily. Because fundamentally is any reason that an organization today is using pieces of paper in the same way as I did in 1976 is a little embarrassing. So, let's take a second step in budget holder management, the smartphone. And as I've already pointed out, we are already all experts in procurement, in going out and identifying whether we've got the money and what we want to buy and what's the best thing to buy from whoever we want to buy it from. That's a skill set in our organization. In terms of how money is being spent within the organization, at this moment in time, most customers I go and see and ask them whether they, how they deal with orders, what they will tell me is they don't have a formal order processing system. What that means is the budget holder have got their own, and each budget holder has their own way of processing their order that reflects their own diligence, confidence, available time, etc. From a point of view of the issues from accounting in terms of raising purchase orders, which is normally called purchase to pay, if the organization can enforce people to raise an order, then you guys immediately get commitment accounting. You can see the cost that you're going to incur at the moment it's being generated. You can put that through a formal approval process, step by step, checking it against budget as it goes. What happens now? I'm going to have to sort of ask you to accept the fact that budget holders love the idea that they can use a browser application to raise an order that takes a few seconds and they can see the transaction through its life cycle from there and approve. Because it now means that if we're looking at what happens having raised the order, when that electronic invoice comes in, it automatically goes and finds that order. It undertakes a two-way match and would normally then send it to the approver to simply say, have you had this or not? And as before, you press the button and it is sent straight to the accounting system. If you put in receipting, three-way match, now when that invoice comes in, it matches the order, it matches the receipt, it does the three-way match within tolerance, it posts straight to finance and nobody touched it. Think of the time savings there with regards to what you're currently doing. It is about 75% of all of the AP function in terms of what we've automated. But what we've also done is actually provided the budget holder with a real-time view, and for that matter finance, of everything they're spending against their budget at the time they're spending it. So from a budget holder's perspective, the value of raising the requisition and the purchase order is they suddenly have gained real-time visibility of their project-related spend and their budget-related spend. But the big issue is for everybody who sits down with their budget holders to do the reconciliation between the budget holder spreadsheet and between the management accounts, they never reconcile. But what the budget holder is doing is basically capturing the record of their expenditure. I'm going to buy something, I've got to record it somewhere so I can check my invoice against it, which you hope is happening, before I agree to pay it. But it also enables them to manage their budget. So, why do they never reconcile? Why do the budget holders never reconcile? Well, very simply, because what the budget holder will invariably do is record the cash value of the particular purchase they're making. And the issue here is that it's a capital purchase. We've got to depreciate that over 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what we're buying. It's a prepayment, so we've got to basically accrue for that over the relevant period. And the only other question I'll leave you with is, if the budget holder's not keeping a spreadsheet with regards to what they're spending, then how are they managing what they're spending at all? So, step 3. Well, step 3 is about projects. And project management is a key area for every organization. And I'm not just talking about projects with regards to specific activities that might be, building a house or whatever particular media event that you're running. And across your organization, you're running lots of projects. I'm talking about the ability to actually plan into the future. So we've got the capability to effectively raise a requisition to record something we intend to spend. Well, why don't we, in that case, enable somebody to raise a transaction on something that we intend to spend? So let's say I'm a marketeer and I want to build a new website. And I'm going to spend about 50 grand on this, I think, and I want it live somewhere around about the end of the year. So I'm going to stick 20 grand in October, 20 grand in November, and 10 grand in December as a placeholder spend against my budget. And I'm going to go and look at the implications of that in terms of the budget available. And I notice that actually I'm a bit tight. So what I do is I look at the other things I'm planning to do and determine I'm going to push some of those back to give me that headroom so I can actually get this project in place. And then over the next 2-3 months, I speak to my suppliers and I quantify who I'm going to use, I quantify the price that I'm going to pay, and I record that until I've ended up with a project that says, if we do this, I'm buying this from these people at these values. I then can submit that in for approval. Having submitted in for approval, it creates the budget. And then I simply release that expenditure against that budget. But it just so happens that something comes up during that project that I wasn't anticipating. So I now need to record a variation. So I simply open up and create a variation order and look at the implications of that against my budget. And it means I've got to push something else back to stay in budget. And I look at what I'm doing and I push that back. The point I'm making here is these are all decisions that should be made by the budget holders. This is their fiscal responsibility. But the tools that we provide them with, accounting software, and believe me, I spent my whole career selling accounting software, so I'm as much to blame as anybody else, possibly more so, is they are not good at actually enabling the individuals that are spending the money to do so well. What budget holder management is about is resolving that issue. So there's one last step in the budget holder management journey. And that is going back to the fact that if you go and look at the budget holder spreadsheets, they are a massive superset in terms of the granularity and the relevance of the information for that particular activity within the business. So how do we deal with that? Well, fairly straightforward really. We enable the budget holders to create their own analysis. And we just digitally hardwire their analysis codes to the chart of accounts. Because that way it means that they are able to go into that requisition that they're raising or that project they're raising, and they are able to use their analysis codes with regards to the fact they're building a website, and they're going to be using a website development company, and they're going to be using a graphic company, and they're going to be buying stock photographs, and they're going to be doing the other things. which is very, very relevant to them. And you think about a chart of accounts and how much information that provides them in terms of how they spent the money, and the answer, I'm afraid, is not very much. The thing is, by doing that, we've now actually achieved the absolute goal of budget holder management. We have removed the need for any budget holder to maintain a spreadsheet. They have that granularity of information that they need. They have the ability to see exactly where they are at any moment in time, has the ability to look over their shoulder 24/7 in terms of everything that has taken place, everything that's in the process of taking place, and everything that is going to take place or potentially going to take place. The 4 steps of budget holder management. As I said at the beginning, this is a journey. This is not something you're going to do overnight. The first one, digitize purchase invoice caption approval. Okay, like I said, it's free. Go out and do it. The time really has come to move on a bit, and by taking away all of the costs and being able to go live in as little as 15 minutes, hopefully we're going to give you, some of you, the incentive to go and try it and start walking down the budget management road. The second one is to leverage that skill set within your organization. This ability for everybody to raise an online order. It's not hard. And in doing so, basically enable the entire organization to have real-time view of everything that is in the process of spending, validated against budget with a far better, more disciplined approval process, so any over budget expenditure is a decision, never a mistake. The third one, introduce projects. Enable people to plan and manage their projects to get rid of the spreadsheets. And the last one, use far, far better analysis of spend that has more relevance in the boardroom and more relevance to the individual than the current chart of accounts. Next generation financial management, budget holder management, really you can take those in each step. But what it's delivering is this one single real-time view of the truth, past, present and future, to everybody in the business that needs to know. Budget holder management is really the opportunity for every business to evolve from a paper-based historical reporting to a real-time view of the world, which is next generation accounts management. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I hope you found that interesting. Cheers.